Gamera vs. Barugon was the first kaiju film I ever saw, so it holds a special place in my heart, and it's about time I did a drink for it. Today on Thirsty Thursday Toys, we're going to take a look at some Yujin Gamera figures and make a drink based on Barugon's powers that I'm calling the Rainbow Chill. For this drink, you'll need vodka, peppermint schnapps, vanilla syrup, club soda, an ice cube tray, and a whole rainbow of food coloring. We gotta start by making the rainbow ice cubes. Dilute your food coloring into some water and add each color into its own section, only filling the section up about halfway. If you're curious as to why I'm doing it this way and not just doing full ice cubes with food coloring, I'll explain somewhere near the end of the video. Then once you have all your colors, set it in the freezer. Take another container and fill that up with just regular water and put that in the fridge to chill. Once all the cubes are frozen, take the tray out and let it sit for a sec to help the cubes separate from the plastic. Then fill each section the rest of the way with that chilled water. If you have leftover chilled water, just drink it. Stay hydrated. Once you see the colored cubes float up to the top, put the tray back in the freezer. Now that your cubes are finally all frozen and ready, take them out and set them in your glass to make that rainbow. Then pour in 1 ounce vodka, 1 ounce peppermint schnapps, a ½ ounce of vanilla syrup, and then fill it up the rest of the way, or about 3½ ounces, with club soda. Stick in a straw, give it a little stir, and enjoy. Cheers! Well, this Yujin set from 2000 contains 8 figures, or rather 7 and then a special colored chase figure. Today we're only focusing on 2 of them, the ones from the 1966 film Gamera vs. Barugon. These were sold in blind boxes and retailed for 980 yen a piece. Nowadays, I've seen them go for as little as 15 a piece if you're lucky enough, and around 180 for the full set. Compared to most other candy toys, Yujin went all out with these. First off, these are some of the biggest candy toys I've ever seen, with Barugon measuring 11 inches long. Larger than the Hyper figures and with significantly more paint. Additionally, they come with a base and bonus accessories. You're definitely getting more bang for your buck with these. Let's start with Gamera's first kaiju foe. The base is cast in a translucent material to really show off the waters of Lake Biwa. Barugon itself requires some assembly, with the head, legs, and tail needing to be plugged in. They also have the belly as a separate piece to cover up the hollow stomach, which I assume was done to save on materials. They did a great job of capturing the look of the suit. I also appreciate the way they've sculpted where the tail attaches for extra kaiju suit goodness. Now, since all these parts attach in very specific ways, it doesn't allow for articulation, at least not without getting some weird gaps. But what it lacks in articulation, it makes up for in accessories. Of course you have the tongue. To install this, you pop out the lower jaw, use the peg in the end to plug it in, and there you go. It's definitely not the first Barugon figure to feature the tongue, but it's the only one I know of that has a tiny victim. That's right, you've got this less than a ½ inch tall Onodera who plugs right into the end there. Superb. But wait, there's more! This is the first Barugon figure I know that actually comes with the Rainbow Blast accessory. Cast in a translucent material, this is sculpted to sit right in between the back spikes and looks excellent. Now, if you have all 7 figures from the set, they can be placed next to each other to create one super diorama. Though it's a shame there's no second set to feature the rest of the Showa series, but this means that right next to Barugon we have the Gamera from the same film. Like the Barugon, this one features another part of Lake Biwa. Although they don't plug in, the 2 bases do sit flush next to each other. The Gamera requires assembly with the legs, head, and tail. This Gamera is on all 4s, but there are other Gameras in the set that feature an upright pose. Like the Barugon, this Gamera comes with some bonus parts in the form of its flying mode. First, you gotta pop off all the legs, head, and tail. There's a tiny plug that goes where the tail plugs in. I'm starting with this one so I don't lose it. It is tiny. Then there's a larger plug for the head spot. Now, the ones for the legs are pretty neat, not just because they're cast in translucent material, but because they're all numbered, which makes it easy to put them in their correct spots. The only problem with mine is that I ended up with 2 number 2s and no number 3. Now, it still plugs in, but doesn't quite line up right. However, I don't plan on looking at it from underneath, so that's just fine. There's no stand for it, but I have other things I can put it on. Otherwise, this is an awesome set with top-notch detail, paint, and accessories, and I highly recommend it. 20 some odd years later, and it's still one of my favorites. Okay, so I promised you some science, so bask in the glory of this figure set while I explain in a somewhat oversimplified manner about the ice. As water freezes, it essentially pushes out impurities. As your ice cubes freeze from top to bottom and outside in, these impurities get pushed, which then gets concentrated near the middle bottom, which is why your ice cubes are clear on the top and then have all that white bubbliness in the middle bottom. Not that there's anything wrong with your ice, but if you want perfectly clear ice, this is something you gotta know. So with the food coloring, you can definitely make colored ice cubes, but some of that food coloring gets pushed down and out, so that the bottom of your ice cube is basically a marker. And if you've made ice cubes with food coloring before, you've probably ended up with a lot of color on your hands when you remove them from the tray. This means that as soon as these cubes are dropped into your drink or liquid is poured over them, that coloring then immediately spreads into the liquid. When you have a rainbow drink, this means that your drink will turn brown pretty quickly. To slow this process down, I start with the colored water, which then freezes like usual. Then I fill it up the rest of the way with clear water, causing the colored cube to float up because density. So with this, some of the food coloring is trapped inside the cube already, but the coloring that had been pushed out is now floating near the top, and even though it's spreading into the rest of the water, it's far more diluted and doesn't have long to spread as it freezes pretty quickly. Science! If you have a different method, I would love to hear it. In the meantime, good luck on your figure hunt, thanks for watching, and please drink responsibly.